The phone hit the polished conference table with a crack so sharp it sliced through the quiet like a gunshot. And for one suspended heartbeat, everyone froze. The single-dad janitor's rough hand still hovered in the air, trembling not with anger but with desperation, while the CEO stared at the device as if it had suddenly become something alive. Then the phone vibrated once, split open at the back, and a folded piece of paper slid out onto the table. What that paper revealed made the most powerful woman in the room go pale, her breath catching as if the air itself had turned against her. Before we go any further, take a moment right now. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that no one is too small to change a life, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Daniel Carter had learned long ago how to make himself invisible. At 42, he wore his exhaustion the way some men wore cologne, heavy and impossible to ignore. Every morning before dawn, he slipped into the glass and steel headquarters of Whitmore Industries, pushing his cleaning cart through hallways that echoed with ambition and money he would never touch. He scrubbed floors where million-dollar shoes walked and emptied trash cans filled with discarded ideas that had once been pitched with confidence. He was a single father raising a 9-year-old daughter named Grace, and every mop stroke, every aching muscle, was fueled by the quiet promise he had made at his wife's grave, that their child would never feel alone in this world. Life had not been gentle with Daniel. His wife, Rebecca, had died of cancer 3 years earlier, leaving behind hospital bills that swallowed his savings and a grief that settled deep into his bones. Grace was his light, but also his greatest fear. He worried constantly about school lunches, overdue rent, and whether he was enough for a little girl who still cried herself to sleep some nights. Faith was the thin thread he clung to. Whispered prayers offered in supply closets and empty stairwells, asking God for strength to make it through just one more day. That morning had started like any other, until Daniel was summoned to the executive floor, a place he was never meant to be during business hours. The message had come from security, clipped and urgent, telling him to bring a phone he had found the night before while cleaning a private meeting room. It belonged to the CEO herself, Elizabeth Whitmore, a woman whose name carried weight in boardrooms and headlines across the country. Daniel had intended to turn it in quietly, but something about the phone had stopped him. When he picked it up, the back casing loosened, and a folded paper slipped halfway out before he tucked it back in, unsure why his heart had started pounding. Elizabeth Whitmore was known for her steel spine and unshakable confidence. She had built the company from her father's struggling firm into a powerhouse, and people admired her ruthlessness as much as they feared it. When Daniel entered the boardroom, the air felt heavy, the walls lined with portraits of legacy and power. He felt small, painfully aware of his uniform and the faint smell of cleaning solution that followed him everywhere. His intention had been simple: return the phone and leave. But when Elizabeth glanced at him with irritation, dismissing him with a wave as if he were furniture, something inside Daniel cracked. Years of swallowed words, of being overlooked and undervalued, surged to the surface. More than that, it was the memory of Grace's face when she asked why people were so mean sometimes, and whether God really saw them. Daniel stepped forward, his hand shaking, and slammed the phone onto the table, not in anger, but in a plea to be seen. The sound echoed, silencing the room. And then the phone opened, spilling its secret. The paper that slid free was old and creased, its edges worn soft by time. Elizabeth recognized it instantly, though she had not seen it in decades. Her composure fractured as memories rushed back. A church basement in rural Ohio, a frightened teenage girl, and a baby she had given up for adoption in secret, urged on by fear and ambition. The paper was an adoption record, a copy she had once carried everywhere before burying it beneath success and denial. Her hands trembled as she stared at it, the past she had locked away now exposed under fluorescent lights. Daniel did not know the details, but he understood the weight of regret. He had only brought the phone because the paper reminded him of his own daughter, of fragile lives shaped by choices made in desperation. He spoke quietly, not accusing, but honest in a way that cut deeper than shouting ever could. He explained that he almost threw the paper away, thinking it was trash, and how that thought alone had haunted him all night. He spoke of Grace, of how every child mattered, even when the world decided otherwise. The room shifted. Executives avoided Elizabeth's gaze as tears filled her eyes, something no one had ever witnessed. For the first time in years, she felt the ache of a faith she had abandoned, the echo of hymns sung by a mother she barely remembered. The janitor standing before her was not a threat to her power, but a mirror reflecting the humanity she had sacrificed to climb so high. In the days that followed, everything changed. Elizabeth did not fire Daniel, as many expected. Instead, she asked to know his story, really know it, beyond the uniform and job title. She learned about Rebecca, about Grace's drawings taped to the fridge, about prayers whispered into the dark. The hardened CEO found herself attending church again, sitting in the back pew, listening to sermons about grace and redemption that felt written just for her. Elizabeth began searching for the child she had given up, driven not by guilt alone but by a longing to heal. She also started looking around her company with new eyes, seeing not just productivity but people. Wages were reviewed, scholarships created, and a foundation established in Rebecca Carter's name to support single parents struggling through loss. Daniel was offered a new position, one that respected his intelligence and dedication, but more importantly, his dignity. Grace noticed the change first. Her father smiled more. The worry lines on his face softened. One evening, as they prayed together, Daniel felt something he had not felt since Rebecca passed away, hope that did not hurt. He realized that slamming that phone down had not been an act of defiance, but an act of faith, a moment where he trusted that truth, no matter how small its messenger, still carried power. As this story comes close to its end, if it has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps stories of faith, kindness, and quiet courage reach those who need them most. And before the final moments fade, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words, "I believe in grace," if this story moved you, and let us know how it made you feel. Years later, Daniel would still push a cart sometimes, not because he had to, but because he never wanted to forget where he came from. Elizabeth Whitmore would stand at charity events and speak openly about her past, her voice steady but humble, reminding the world that success without compassion was an empty victory. And Grace, growing up surrounded by love hard-won and deeply felt, would learn that even the smallest hands could shake the tables of power when guided by faith. The phone, long since discarded, had done its work. What truly popped out that day was not just a piece of paper, but the reminder that God's grace has a way of revealing itself at the exact moment we think we are invisible.